Well, folks, here again for the weekly forecast. During this last week, about the only thing that we can say is very warm temperatures invaded the region, not only Nebraska, but most of the Central Plains. We actually broke a few records in the middle of the week as some of the temperatures in western Nebraska hit up into the upper 70s, and even a couple 80s were reported. Now, of course, most of these are unofficial. They will be officially designated once NCTC digitizes them and looks at it through their quality control process and makes sure that there's nothing that's outstanding in terms of comparisons to nearby neighbors. It looks like it from all standpoint that most of these records will stand as we get the official records that'll occur in about 3 months. But the temperatures were very welcome after a very cold February. The concern is too much of a good thing. We'll start to break dormancy too early and we get another flush of cold air coming in that could cause some significant problems in terms of freeze damage. So as we go forward in this next week, we are looking for the warming trend to continue, with it starting to show a cooling trend as we move into next week as several systems try to work their way into the region. They're going to overcome a lot of dry air at the surface in order for us to see precipitation out of these systems, but at least there's hope on the horizon. So let's take a look at the upper air models and see what we can expect. And as we look at today's upper air model, what we'll notice is that we have a trough over the Great Lakes region. We have this big strong ridge that's been responsible for the very dry air at the surface and the very warm temperatures. We expect that trend to continue at least through this week, and we'll be slightly cooler today than we have been the last couple days, but right around 10 to 15 degrees above normal. But by the time we get into tomorrow, we're going to see this ridge centered right over Kansas, and that means that we're going to see a very warm day statewide, easily into the 70s, and I suspect in western Nebraska we will push into the lower 80s in a few isolated locations. Now the real trick is as we get into Monday, there is some discrepancy in terms of how quickly the frontal boundary to our north starts to push into our region. If it comes in earlier in the day, then we'll be significantly cooler, but if it holds off until the later afternoon hours, we are probably looking at, again, a repeat performance across extreme southern Nebraska from the temperatures that we've seen on Sunday, which will put us up into the low 70s. For right now, we're going to take a modification of that and indicate about a 5 to 10 degree cooling compared to Sunday, but if this front comes through earlier, we'll definitely knock another 5 to 10 degrees off, and we'll be looking at temperatures primarily into the 50s to possibly the low 60s across southern Nebraska. Now as we get into Tuesday, the ridge tries to rebuild back in, so we'll up our temperatures a couple degrees, but you'll notice in the west that there's a trough trying to build in. It's a very weak scattered trough, but as we go through progress into the next 7 to 10 day period, it looks like this will gain more stability and we'll see a bit deeper trough digging into the western United States and shooting energy out into the Central Plains. Now as we go into Wednesday, you can start to see some of the action of this trough as the system tries to work its way into the region. So we're going to cool temperatures a couple more degrees as this ridge starts to suppress itself to the south. As we get into the day on Thursday, here comes that trough. The big shot of cold air will remain behind it, not coming in until Friday, but this system should generate some precipitation at the surface, particularly over the northern half of the state. And then as we get into Friday, we'll see that push of cold air that will invade eastern Nebraska, and there may actually be a few flurries around during the early morning hours. As we look at the temperature forecast, the warmest temperatures this weekend, we start to look at the chances of precipitation increasing during midweek, and then a cool down toward the weekend. 8 to 14 day forecast keeps the cold air in place across the eastern half of the country, and in terms of precipitation, we see the results of that trough as moisture starts to invade the central and southern plains.